Charles Ross, welcome back.
Hello.
How are
Hi, Guy.
you? Are you well?
I am well. Yes, I am very well. I'm enjoying the warmer weather, and you said you're having warm weather now as well.
Yes, we are. They've allowed it for a few days, but I don't know if it's for our benefit or just to scorch the land so they can't grow anything.
Okay, yeah.
Also, of
Uh,
course, it controls our mood. So by making it
does
rain, dropping
yeah.
the temperature and cloudy grey sky, people are depressed. Ramp it
Mm,
up so it's nice and warm and we're happy. Make it a little bit too hot, we become irritable. So it can not only
right.
not modifying the weather can modify our mood too, and I'm sure that's a calculation, within their
Yes.
plans.
Yes, that's interesting. Yeah, it's almost like sunlight kind of does have a positive impact on almost immediately as soon as you're in the sun. So,
It often
yeah.
reminds me of breatharians,
Right.
um, because we had this conversation earlier on. My wife and I said to her, would you like me to make something to eat? She said, oh yes, let's just have a salad and something. And I said, okay, you're not that hungry. She said, it's too hot to eat.
Right. Maybe we don't need food.
The hotter it is, I think the less likely
Yeah.
we are to sit and have a big meal.
Yeah, it does. It does feel that way. I mean, I know that a lot of people have the belief that obviously living near the equator is kind of healthier, and that could be it. I think it could be the ultraviolet light, maybe. Um, yeah. Well, I mean, the whole spectrum, ultraviolet to infrared. I think it's
Yes,
just as we know, that is real energy. That's like yeah, the Son of
yes,
God, right? So yeah.
yes. And the power, it heals, doesn't it? We know it has healing properties.
Yeah, it heals. It's been for thousands of years. It's been used to cure, disinfect, cure food, right? Like sun bleached food.
Yes,
People always talk about. Some people actually clean things just by hanging them in the sun. But yeah, I mean, it depends how much sun, I guess, you are getting. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, photoelectric effect that we spoke about before, and yeah, I mean, it
Well,
looks like sunlight is actually not unhealthy, and we shouldn't need sunscreen. We should actually be allowing the sun onto our skin without any chemicals in the way. Yeah.
I totally agree. And I'm going to steal a line from my youngest son. This is something that he mentioned when he was on a channel called Richard Vobes here in England. And he said, if you're not prepared to drink it, don't put it into your skin because one way or another, it's going in your bloodstream.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, some people say it actually goes faster. I mean, it saturates or soaks through the skin faster actually than if you were to
Yeah.
eat it. You still have that kind of stomach lining and the acid and yeah, stomach acid. But yeah, if it's on your skin, I think it's probably faster. Yeah.
Yes. And there are links as well to the sudden rise in skin cancer and the introduction of sunscreen and sunblock. So I think I
Yeah.
personally, I think that the best way is to stay in the shade and protect yourself. Just cautiously go into the sun. Everybody wants to have a tan. I get that, or not everybody, but a lot of people go on holiday to get a tan. They want to get a tan, but you see so many of them
Mm.
burn almost immediately. And I think we've got to slowly expose ourselves to the sun. And there's a saying, I don't know if you know it. I know that you spend a lot of time here in England when you were younger, but there's a saying called "Mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun." So I think when it's at its height, when it is the most intense, I think that is when perhaps we all need to sit in the shade or have a siesta.
Yes, I mean it is something within like especially here in the Republic of China in Taiwan, there's like all kinds of methods that people use to avoid the sun, which is ironic because the sun is what makes it such a nice place
Mm.
to visit, you see. But people have like forearm socks, gloves. They have umbrellas that are not for the rain, they're for the sun. And they have hats, masks, all kinds of things to try to avoid the sun. And no one goes out in the afternoons. When I go out in the afternoons, Apart from obviously traffic, the city is there's no one walking around. Yeah, yeah,
Sounds very wise. That's probably the best time to go out as a tourist if you're protected,
yeah,
so you haven't got the
mm,
hustle and bustle as much. Anyway,
yeah.
we're going down a different rabbit hole today, aren't we?
Yes, yeah. We have a never-ending one. I mean, this one is this one has taken quite a lot of my time because it's fascinating and I think there is quite a lot of material. So I mean, what we're talking about today is how World War One and World War Two actually happened, and who is the real Adolf Hitler. What was Nazi Germany? We see infrastructure on the coast of Normandy. There's like crazy infrastructure that I touched on last month.
Yes.
We have infrastructure that obviously is part of a very old empire that was already preparing for invasion. And my starting point with this was what was the motivation? How did Winston Churchill end up? You know, uh, or who was really kind of letting Winston Churchill um, uh, kind of create this desperate situation where an invasion into France was necessary. And although I have to be careful because I don't want to upset anyone, I want to be as unbiased as possible. It's always hard to be unbiased because sometimes you find things that you want to learn more about. And it is a difficult subject to be impartial because then you see something happening that obviously seems wrong. But I am simply trying to search for the truth within all of this. I have no preconceived ideas. I have no agenda at all. And I don't want to upset anyone or probably not even try to avoid showing certain symbols that people might not want to see, right? Um, but I don't know if I should give my conclusion first, which I like to do, or just let people work out for themselves what the actual fact might be. I'm always so tempted to start with my own conclusion because it shocks people a little bit and it seems completely impossible. But then the research hopefully starts to build that the reason for the intuition because I think the intuition is really all we have. Uh, there's a lot of information, there are a lot of books, especially when it comes to fascinating topics like the Aryan people, because Hitler believed that there was a hollow earth city called Thule that he would have to get to. And I think you can call that uh, like the Third Reich uh, mythos, if you like. And this was so fascinating to look into because it links up in so many ways perfectly to what we've been doing with Tartaria. And I think that uh, Hitler knew that America was the land of the Black Hebrew, and I think he spoke about this. And of all the people, all the historical figures in the world to find out that Hitler was actually doing this before he left this realm completely and was replaced by Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin replaced Hitler, and then they did all those videos that were well focused with the new cameras. But Hitler left. Hitler left around the early 1940s. And the technology that this empire had and took from the Arctic, those 58 countries that have all agreed on never allowing anyone into the Arctic,
The Antarctic Treaty, yes.
the Antarctic Treaty. Well, those countries may have all kinds of wars and disagreements, and there might be all kinds of infractions and terrible unwarranted military assaults on each other, but they will never disagree on the Arctic or the Antarctic Treaty. Now, it doesn't really matter if you say Arctic or Antarctic. I'm going to go into that later because there's a connection there too. Um, but without it, this is going to be almost impossible to not go off on some random little, like side quest. It's full of side quests. But I guess the best place to start is my favorite place to start is the technology. So
Well, do you want
using,
to? Sorry, Charles. Do you want to start with your conclusion? Because if
yes,
you're tempted to, then I think you
I'm
should.
tempted to.
I think you should. This is your work, and you have every
Yeah.
right to start
Okay.
wherever you want. This is your time.
Okay. Hitler was a Moor. His grandmother was married to a Rothschild. She was swarthy, she was black, and he was a black man. So this Hitler with the little mustache, that is just Charlie Chaplin taking the ideas from a movie he made in the 1800s, saying that, oh, if I do this small mustache, then that I could that's my signature thing. That's the secret nobody will know, right? So a lot of Germans had this mustache for other reasons, and it wasn't quite the way Hitler's was. It was a little bit wider, and it was just to stop the longer mustaches that were popular at the time from causing leakage in the gas masks.
Yeah,
So, yeah, the gas masks cylinder,
yeah.
right?
That was the
So
claim with Hitler's gas mask, wasn't it? That
that was the
that there was a
claim. But
problem.
Charlie
Yeah,
Chaplin started using this. The real Hitler, Charlie Chaplin, he started using this in a movie many years before called I think The Tramp or something. So he
yeah,
was already using this mustache. Also, um, when they built up this image of Hitler after the actual Hitler, now whose name wasn't Hitler, it was a Hebrew version of that name. So it was one name. It was like four syllables. It basically sounds like Adolf Hitler, but it's Hebrew phonics. So it's Adolf Hitler, Adolf Hitler. So it almost sounds like that. But to put those two names together, that was just someone's plan to make him look like a normal, Austrian person. Now, I don't know whether I should say his ethnicity, which Hitler was, and his friend Albert Kuzbek, who wrote many books about him, who both went to the same academy together. They were both Ashkenazi Jews. So so this is something that is covered in a book. This is not my own theory. This is something that's covered in a book that there were a lot of Austrian Jews. There were a lot of Polish Jews, like somewhere around 2 million at the time. All of those left, by the way. They all left Eastern Europe when the invasion of Poland was the first step. The invasion of Poland was actually happened in 1939, and there were two countries that invaded Poland. So the Germans were trying to rescue Jewish Germans that were in Poland. So our history has been completely inverted, and this was the Slovak Republic and Russia invading Poland in the middle of September, and then at the start of September, Germany was rescuing its own communities there. This is where Hitler, says this is justified to go in there to rescue these people that are being persecuted at the time. I can also give you like certain neighborhoods where they lived called shtetls, right? So these were also Polish in Poland too. So what it looks like when you actually do the research yourself, when you autodidactic do the research yourself, it seems pretty obvious that he's rescuing as many Hebrews as he can because they're being persecuted. Yeah. So for us to today look at that, it is almost impossible for me to, even if I have all the facts, the maps, the newspaper articles of Judea declaring war on Germany, I could have all that information, and it's still, because it is the as far away as possible. It's not. It's literally 180 degrees from the truth.
yes. A complete inversion.
So you can't. You even if you tell someone and you shove it in their face and you say, look, they replaced this, rewrote the history like they have with every, like, like they have with almost all of the, like, they picked all of the dates. The birthday of Hitler is exactly the same day Charlie Chaplin was born. They didn't know where to get the information from, so they took it from the surrounding information. Like, I know how they work, because they don't want the karma to fall back on them and their own families. So they have to pick a little bit of truth everywhere, and that's all I'm doing. I'm picking up the breadcrumbs, you know. So then you have April the 27th, where Hitler was trained. Guess which country he was trained in 19 between 1910 1920. Guess which country he lived in and was trained and was told. That's the young Charlie Chaplin. Where was he told how to become the leader of Germany?
I've
Guess
no
which
I
country?
I don't know, but I've got a horrible feeling you're about to say Israel.
Nope. It's worse.
England?
Yep.
Hmm.
What do you think of that? You're going to want me to prove that, probably, right?
No, I'm not, because as far from the research I've done, I mean, I haven't gone anywhere near as deep as you have, and you've already really surprised me. But at the
Yep.
same time, it's not a surprise. But my research suggested that Churchill and Hitler were far from enemies.
They were not enemies. They were working together.
Yes.
I can also tell you about the Russian Bolshevik Revolution. All those people were also trained in Germany. Trotsky in the UK. Sorry, in Vienna. They had regular meetings with Hitler. Coffee in a specific coffee shop. It's all documented. It's insane. It's insane. Like, it couldn't be more insane. Okay, here we go. There
Yeah.
was a painting that was sold in 2009, or a watercolor by Hitler, supposedly painted around 1910. They
Huh.
tried to, yeah,
That's not far from me.
yeah, this is Clapper Bridge, Dartmouth, Devon in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. Just down the
And
road from me.
when I found this, it was sold in 2009. I think they tried to say that it's a fake. Then they found the sketchbooks, and they found one of the paintings actually had him as a self-portrait. Yeah. So I think he returned again to finish his training. He was like, basically, they were, I think it was like an early form of designing someone like MK Ultra, which ironically is what the Nazis ended up doing later on. But yeah, so he returns to Germany in around 1913, and then he goes back to settles in Munich. I mean, I don't know how long exactly. Maybe 5 years he lived in the UK. I have never had anyone tell me that Hitler lived
Well,
in the UK.
one of the buildings he really admired in England is actually in Manchester. And
Okay.
apparently, during the bombings, he specifically asked that that building wasn't touched. That
Yeah.
no,
He
that
How
they
could he have bombed like London? I have no idea. I think he must have
no, I don't
fought them.
know. Yeah.
I mean, because in the concentration camps they were supposed to have used all kinds of gases, so they must have had stockpile of gases. So he didn't want to use any of that kind of stuff during the war. Unless all of that is also, incorrect history. But
Mm.
yeah, yeah, constantly keep saying no. I mean, I don't want to attack the UK. I don't. Yeah,
Yes,
many
yes, he
times he
did.
could have, and even after Dresden bombing, I think um, there was this retaliation. Do London, and then he ended up, I think, bombing Coventry as retaliation, knowing that it's not. You know, this is crazy. I mean, I think that he was observing, partly learning politics, but he came back. Some of his friends wrote down in diaries that he came back repeating things like mantras and reading these books over and over again that he was given there. Because I think that's because he knows the German royal family is there, and I think the Rothschilds, he knew he was related, so he was given his training of how to take over. Yeah. So he learned how to use propaganda, especially the symbolism, um, and yeah, the idea of loyalty, how to basically build his own empire, and or at this point political movement, so he could return to Berlin and begin the socialism, or the rebirth of socialism. And I think before that he was literally just a fine art student. So yeah, it's pretty incredible how much he learned in those five years.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but it's just crazy that he ends up at war with Britain. So I believe that a lot of that might have also been part of this plan. That, by the way, in the end, you're going to go to war with us, but
Yes.
you're not going to win. I think it was a script, and I think he knew what the script was, and he knew that through the New Schwabenland expeditions that were later on that he was given information about, that he did have that path with the U-boats back to Argentina. So I think he knew he was going to Argentina. He knew there's going to be a fake, like a body double used in the a bunker in Berlin in the late 1940s. Yeah. So yeah, that was like my first big like milestone.
So, do you
Um,
believe that while he was in England, that is where he met Churchill? And
yes, but I don't. Uh, so Churchill was always hobnobbing with the royals. There's a wax figure of him in Warwick Castle, and he's there for some reason when he was a young kid. So I think Winston Churchill was always part of the royal family, just not officially.
yes,
And I
look,
think that, yeah,
sorry, Charles. I was just going to say that there is a conspiracy theory that it was the father of Queen Elizabeth II.
yeah, they had a lot of caveat families that they were bringing in when there was no heir or a chance that there was no backup heir. Um, but I always ask myself, yeah, why didn't he use gas in World War II? Because that was like Hitler's one of their greatest technological early on. That was one of their greatest technological advancement. Later on, when they went to the Arctic and started building bases, then they did find everything else, like pyramids, mammoths, these UFOs. When the Aryans started to become part of the research projects, and they reverse engineered these UAP UFOs. Now that I know that some people are going to say, okay, how can we jump to that straight away? Well, I can prove that before Hitler's Luftwaffe, um, there was no there was no jet engine on planet Earth. This leads me on to my next research project, which is uh, why was there a Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact with Russia to not fight each other? And why did Russia break that? Well, Russia broke that out of fear because there was propaganda posters making it appear like the Nazis were dragons, that they weren't human. And the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was, we know you're not humans, we know you're not from here, that you're associated with some kind of other entity. The Orthodox Christians in Russia believed that they were like fallen angel lineages. And then I tried to see if I could compare that with the Tartarian Empire and the fact that Russia always has this person that looks like Saint George slaying the dragon in the center of all
Yes,
of all of their royal war banners. And I think that's where it comes from. That they thought these were the like reincarnated, maybe, that they didn't want to fight. They didn't want to fight the Nazis ever. And Russia ultimately thought that they were on the same side in the 1930s. That all changed when Germany invented the jet engine. And I don't think Germany lost the war because of that. And I'm going to try to tell you what. Now, the Messerschmitt existed, so did the Spitfire. The Spitfire actually was much better than the Messerschmitt. It was smaller. It had these like rigid wings that were like just geometrically, it just worked better. Then all of a sudden, in the early 1940s, the Nazis somehow invent. This is all after they go to the Arctic. They invent a jet engine. Now, nobody ever has talked about this. I love talking about jet engines, right? But nobody's ever talked to me about this. Nobody's ever discussed this. So when you look into this expedition, which they went to the Arctic, they came back with the technology to produce jet engines. And they called this aircraft the Messerschmitt Me 262, the world's first operational jet fighter. Now, how is that possible? It does.
Yes.
What's going on here? How can we jump a century in technology within just a few years? And I think they already had this before the war started, and they were using the propeller version of the Messerschmitt as just for fun. I think they were going to the Arctic to look at those cities and those abandoned cities there that we cannot go to. Now, how can they all agree on us not going there? Because they won the war and they said, give us America. And that's why we have the Eagle in America. Give us America, give us the Arctic, and you can have everything else.
So do you believe, because I've written about this and spoken about this, do you believe that what happened in America, with Operation Paperclip, for example, that became
Yep.
the Fourth Reich?
Yes. No, no, that's the Third Reich still. We're still on the Third
We're
Reich.
still on the Third Reich.
The
And what
Fourth
about,
Reich is being chosen as we speak. They have a theory that 6,000 years. Okay, the most important thing to realize is that we're not talking about the Jews being persecuted by the Nazis. That's the most important thing. And in Asia, there is a crazy symbol, which is a five-pointed star inside a swastika. And that is a insane thing when you see that. I mean, if you ever get to go to like an East Asian country, there will be temples with that sign, with that symbol. And I think we have to try to understand that this great respect for this empire originates with their understanding that civilization began in East Asia, India, China. Yeah. And that's where we come from. We are Caucasus Asians. It's in our name. Like you know. But that's sidetracking. What I want to really focus on is the fact that the technology advanced so quickly. So this is an AI image. Most of my research now incorporates AI, and I'm sorry about that because some people hate it. But yeah. So in
well,
this,
it has a role, doesn't it? It has a role. I use it for my imagery, and it.
I save so much time. Yeah, this guy saves so much
Well,
time. Yeah.
I was a graphic designer before I was a tattoo artist, and so for me, it's sometimes a bitter pill to swallow if I overthink it, because I'm using something that would have ultimately made me redundant years ago. But it's time. It would take me all day to create what you've got there. Now I
It
don't
would,
have
yeah.
time
I mean,
to.
it takes me like 30 seconds.
I think it's incredible, and there were a couple of things I wanted to ask you. First of all, I noticed that the armament suddenly changes dramatically, but also
Yeah.
you were going to say about the Arctic and the Antarctic and why they are one and the same thing. And now I'm
Yeah.
thinking, is this just the ice wall we're talking about?
So NATO is still the Nazi empire today. So that's why in the background of their like boardrooms, they have the flat Earth logo.
Yes,
NATO do, I think a lot of other companies or because it's a company, by the way. America is not a country. It's a
corporation. Yeah,
corporation. And the president of the corporation is a president. He may
yes,
be related to the British monarchy, but he is a president.
yes.
Yeah. So I mean, people in the know kind of thing. If you know, you know kind of.
Yes, this is the straw man. People should look into the
Straw
straw man.
man.
It's a
Yeah.
fascinating
Yeah.
subject. I've read a really fascinating book on it. But once you understand how it works, it makes perfect sense. And we've got the same here. It's the same everywhere. Here, the United Kingdom. I mean, the City of London is a separate entity to the United Kingdom itself, and we are all part of a corporation. And I think that changed in. I'm not exactly sure of the year, but I believe it was around 1973. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me if I am. And
Yeah.
from that moment on, every single law that's been passed is technically invalid because it was created by a corporation and not a government.
Yes, so you can go, you can remove yourself from that. There is like
Mm,
forms you can write. You can also basically just decide not to accept it. But as soon
yes.
as you sign your name on anything, that's when the problems start. That's when it gets more complicated. Yeah. But I'm not an expert on this
Well,
yet. But yeah.
there's a podcaster, a really popular podcaster here, who's a very good friend of mine called Richard Vobes. And
Okay.
Richard wrote to the Attorney General and removed himself from the system.
Right, right. So yeah,
The
you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, he said the only thing is that he would no longer receive a pension from the state. That's the only, not that he wanted one
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
but he said that
Yeah.
that was the only. Sorry, there's a fly here. That was the only problem. It would cause him financially in the future, but he wants to be out of the system. He wants to lead by example, and
Yeah.
so he did that. And yes, so he doesn't pay tax. He doesn't pay council tax. He doesn't participate if they send him a speeding ticket, which his partner had recently. He wrote back saying, "I'm sorry, but you said that we have caused an offence, but you need to, by definition, if an offence has been caused, then you need to tell us the details of the person that was offended, because it can't be an offence unless someone's been offended. And the photo you've sent of the vehicle shows a vehicle that isn't moving; it's stationary. We'll need video footage and evidence to show that the vehicle was actually traveling at the speed you've said, because I can't go on just a photograph of a vehicle that isn't moving." And they dropped it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I suppose the judge just realizes that it's not worth it or something. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's not worth it because he would tie them up in knots, and he also wouldn't address them by anything other than their Christian name. So
Ah,
he,
yes. Yeah.
yeah, so he would say,
Like, so you have to call yourself a natural man, something like
yeah,
that.
so he would talk to the judge or the magistrate the same way. So he would say, for me to be able to talk to you, if all men are created equal and we're all sovereign beings, then
Yeah.
I can't address you as your honor. I can only address you by your name. Otherwise, we can't have a conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So
But he
you kind
knows,
of don't recognize their authority
yeah,
and
yeah,
you
which you mustn't do because they don't have any
yeah.
authority. We choose to give them authority over us, and that's when you're arrested. That's why they read you your rights, and then at the end of them, they ask you if you understand very clearly. Do you understand? And in that context, that means, will you stand over me and accept my authority? And so when that happens, you must say, no, I do not understand, because I know precisely what that means.
Yeah, yeah. So it kind of yeah, it does make you think that maybe yeah, the that there are so many illusions that we just accept and
Mm.
presume are the right thing to do, and we're probably shooting ourselves in the foot just by accepting any of it, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I think so. Sorry, Charles. So yeah, so carry on. So the Arctic and the Antarctic, as far as you're concerned, are one and the same thing.
Yes, I mean according to the yeah. I mean people call it like a flat Earth map, Gleason map, yeah. The
Yeah.
well, I mean that's what NATO has been using. So it's
Yes, I've seen it.
uh
I've seen it in the yeah,
yeah.
I've seen it in the one of their meeting rooms. It might have even, I think, it might even be in the reception of one of their buildings. The blue and white map we're talking about here, and I'm pretty sure it's. I've seen a photograph of it on Air Force One. I think, is it called Air Force One? I can't remember the name of the president's plane.
I think it's Air Force One.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think so.
sure I've seen it in there as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean you see it everywhere. You'll see it in
Mm,
logos for different food companies. You'll see it in like Chinese very like ancient Chinese si like sigils. The yin and yang is a map of the world. It's the sun and the moon. Uh, so yeah, there's a lot of there are a crazy amount of places you'll see it. Even the swastika is actually um, a map of the world too. The four continents, the four corners of the globe,
right.
the Orion's Belt constellation in four seasons. I mean, yeah, I mean, you'll see it in Egyptian hieroglyphs. You'll see it in Viking mythology. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, you're going to see it everywhere. You'll even see it on the symbols on the money that we use, because they want to show everyone that we know where we are. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it was on coins in America. It was in coins. They had it on the back of
yeah,
coins.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the clock faces, like the 12 exits, entrances, yeah. 12 prophets, yeah. So
Right.
I mean, it's pretty exciting. But
Yes.
I think those deeper pieces of information were not the public was not privy to. That was the higher
Hmm.
rankings of the Nazi Party. By the way, I found out that none of the Nazi scientists from the rocket engineers, none of them went to Russia. Russia had their own already. So they all went to NASA. So
Yes.
so I think NASA is was set up by Heinrich Himmler, who then gave it to one of his own generals, or somebody who was employed by him. Um, and I got the name the other day. Dussel. His name was Dussel. Yeah. So the CIA was also set up around about that time for World War II. Yeah. So there's like a crazy theory that uh, the reason why the Nazi scientists went there is because they had all of their war crimes expunged by um, by FDR, the president at the
Yeah.
time, and so they expunged all their war crimes, and then you have these very prominent Nazi scientists just taking over, like 2,000 out of, and like they recruited about 2,000. I mean, the numbers is crazy. And at the time, I think they only employed like 3,000 people. So
Crikey.
it was basically Nazi Germany starting again
Yeah.
in another country. So they must have given all kinds of land to. I don't think there was a clear-cut win for Britain and America. I think they just said, okay, you can have this, you can have South America, maybe. Otherwise, why do you have all these massive German cities now in
Yes.
Argentina where everyone speaks
Yes.
German in
Yes.
Argentina?
And they still, yeah, they still do today, don't they? There are a lot of German communities in South America.
Yeah, people can Google
Argentina, yeah.
German towns in
Mm,
Argentina and you will have your mind blown.
yes. And
They
you can see
literally,
straight
you
away.
feel like you're in Bavaria or some,
I
and
mean,
everyone's speaking German. Yeah.
yeah, and the buildings themselves, the buildings, their homes and the buildings, they
Yeah.
it would be very difficult to know where you were if you were just dropped in one of
You,
those.
yeah. I mean, if there's ever a way to prove Tartarian theory, like go to Argentina and say, are there any German cities with German people speaking German? You know,
Yes. Yes, you're absolutely right.
that's gonna blow people's minds. Yeah. So Hitler was then this like Moorish German Hebrew king, and he went in a U-boat at the end of World War II to Argentina, and there are some CIA documents that I can show you for that have been released. I think the plan was always to start another war as soon as the First World War finished, and then have this ace in the hole, which is this Thule technology, which is a Messerschmitt ME-262. If you rule the sky, you can bomb everything you want. You can go anywhere you like. You basically won the war. Um, if you look at 1944, it took the Allies about 9 months, I think, to take down the first Messerschmitt because they had propeller planes. It's not their fault. They had propeller planes.
Mm,
So if you look at the Spitfire, which is probably which kind of like ruled the skies up until this technology was found in the Arctic and they reverse engineered it, and it didn't take them long. So you have a climb of 20,000 feet and you're doing it in 3 minutes. And every other propeller plane does it in about seven and a half.
yeah.
You don't have a chance.
No, you
It's
don't.
completely unfair. And then suddenly you have this. you have this ability to carry heavier guns, which is the real issue. The issue isn't how fast can you go. It's the fact that you're going 560 miles per hour and everyone else is going 400 and
Yeah,
they're losing control of the plane. They can't follow you if you go high enough. So what they ended up doing is putting larger guns onto the. It was completely unfair. I mean, yeah. They could put these heavy guns on. I don't know where the guns. Oh, 30 millimeter cannons. So they were just ripping through everything that was
yeah,
in the sky. And
yeah.
uh I think the war was over in 1944, to be honest.
No,
I think we've been lied to about 1946, I think they said. Yeah.
and you've said you mentioned earlier on that he was a king just a moment ago,
Yes, he was a king. He was
a
looked at
Moorish
on as
king.
a king. I have a photo of him wearing a like one of those Germanic feathered helms like the Moors wore. Yeah.
Could you share that with us? Do you have that available?
Yes, I can find that. Yeah.
Oh, that would be really interesting to see.
I mean, he was doing all kinds of things. I mean, they just went crazy after the actual Moorish king left. Or I still don't know, by the way, if Hitler died. I can't really. Maybe they had a fake body double, and Hitler might have died very
Are you
early on. I
talking
don't know.
about are you talking about the bunker?
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't think he died in Berlin. I don't think he
No,
was in
no,
Berlin.
that was his double, wasn't it? Allegedly, that
He,
was his butler, wasn't
well,
it?
it was a female skull that they found. So unless he was female the whole time, which is also possible. So can you see what I mean? It's hard to know where
Yeah,
you want to spend your time because he could have
yeah,
been
absolutely.
inverted because they all are. You
Yes.
know, all of these Rothschild lineages, they pride themselves on being female, and you think they're male, and that means they have the right to rule you, right? So this is all fascinating anyway. This is all for entertainment purposes, and these are just theories. Um,
I love a disclaimer.
I'm because I know for some people this is like this is insane time. This is they don't know what's they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, do you know, I had this conversation with someone today, and I said they made a comment on an interview on my YouTube channel, and it was a
Mm,
gentleman called Kevin, who shared his story about a very similar story to the Adam Project, where his future self comes to meet him as a 12-year-old child and shares 0 point energy technology with him. Anyway, someone said, "Oh, they thought they found it interesting, but his story's far fetched, and they didn't agree with a lot of the things he said." And I totally respect that. And I said to them that I don't I don't dismiss anything. We are way past dismissing things now. Everything's on the table. We don't know what's true anymore. And what I would never do is say that I don't agree with someone's research who has spent far longer looking into it than anybody else I know. So
yeah.
there are going to be people that don't agree, and they have a right to do that. But at the same time, there'll be people that don't agree that haven't done anywhere near the level of research. And you can't go onto Google and find this information or ask ChatGPT or Wikipedia. This is research that takes a lot of time, and you've got to dig way deeper than a lot of people are able to go.
Yes, you do. But I mean, it's very hard because in the end you'll find out that that actually a lot of the foundation of the Nazi Party's concepts and beliefs actually originated in believing that they were Hebrew the whole time. So it's pretty much exactly what we find with Tartaria. They are doing the same thing. So this is actual Hitler. The Hitler, can you see the mustache is also different?
Yes.
When you look at the Hitler now, which is Charlie Chaplin, it's an actor. Yeah, it's probably like what happened with Biden, where he couldn't kind of stand up anymore, so they had to bring someone else in.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of leaders throughout history have had body doubles. I know Kim Jong-un has multiple body doubles. It's not hard to find someone that looks like you. I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have the kind of resources that these people would have, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course there's the cloning possibility as well. But people make a
Hitler
lot
was
of
deep
money.
into cloning,
Yeah.
There's a lot of references to him cloning people. Yeah, yeah,
And we see today that just with doubles, with lookalikes, that people make successful careers and livings from actually
mm,
being a double of somebody famous. A friend of
yeah.
mine from Northampton, where we lived, our children grew up in Northampton. We only moved to Devon 5 years ago. He's a very big guy. He was the British judo champion years ago. He is a double for Dwayne Johnson.
Hmm?
He's been on
I have a
TV. I've
list.
seen him on
Someone sent me a
TV.
list of hundreds of people that have got and their dolls. Yeah.
Well, this guy, if
So
people
there's
want to have a
so
look on
many.
Facebook, his name's Nathaniel Simon, Nathaniel Simon, from
Interesting.
Northampton. He owns a gym, and yeah, you would see mixed race. You would see straight away. It's very
Mm.
well, it's uncanny. It really is, and you can see that we have people that look like other people all the time because there's the Epstein look-alike that people keep spotting. I can't remember what his name is, but people often spot this guy driving
Yeah.
around in America that looks just like Jeffrey Epstein. And I imagine he gets stopped all the time, and people wanting to, first of all, see if it's him or not, and then perhaps wanting to get a selfie with him. It's a sort of double-edged sword, isn't it, that one? Anyway, sorry, Charles, carry on.
Yeah, you're talking about Palm Beach Pete. That
That's
looks a
him.
lot like
That's
him. Yeah.
him. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think he lived in the same street or something. There's a few weird coincidences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't sometimes we don't know, it's crazy, but we sometimes there's a dead end with these things.
Yes.
But I did see
Intentionally,
here
perhaps.
references to the Jerusalem Maltus cross, maybe Templar
Oh,
Knight.
yes.
Then you have
Yes.
the French hen, right? Symbolism, the royal lineage here symbolism.
Yeah.
Like this is insane. And then I do see the swastika there as well. And this is in London, I think, the photo.
Yes, it did say London, didn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
that's the I want to say SS Waffen maybe symbol. Uh, yeah, and the Royal General. That's a general's. Yeah, so he was a general. John Hartfield. Political art, Kaiser Adolf. So he wanted to be the king, right? He wanted to be the new Kaiser, the new
Yeah.
to replace Kaiser Wilhelm. Yeah. So this is the I mean, leader worship is a typical work. German photo montage. I mean, I don't think this is a montage. This image was used throughout many different German publications. So I don't know why they but they're saying here that it's a montage,
Yeah.
which is doesn't make any sense at
Well,
all.
perhaps, but again, that's
But they don't want you to
misdirection,
know. They
isn't
don't want
it?
you to know the truth about
No.
that back then nobody had the internet. They wouldn't have been able to prove that he was in the UK even,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And it is misdirection, isn't it? Because as soon as you
yeah,
tell somebody that what they're looking at is photoshopped, essentially, then they're going to believe it's photoshopped and they're going to move on. They won't for one moment consider that it might
yeah,
not be, because like you said earlier on, everything's inverted. Absolutely everything's inverted.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, this is a very like infamous image of him, basically saying I'm the new king. This is not satire. This is not
Yes.
humor. This
Mm-hmm.
this is very much during the Nazi era, and yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So, I mean, there are like a lot of other interesting images. This is Adolf Hitler before the fall of the German Moorish Empire. So this person was also called Adolf Hitler. This is also a
Really?
historic person called Adolf Hitler. Hitler was not a family name, which is essential to know to learn that.
Right.
Because there you have the Adler on top.
Yes.
This is not a Hollywood actor. This is which people are obviously gonna say, but yeah, this is not a Hollywood actor. This is the Moorish king of Bavaria, Germany. He was also called Adolf Hitler. Now that would have been Hebrew though back then. That would have been like a Germanic sort of Paleo-Hebrew name. Not the 1800s Hebrew, which is like a new Hebrew, which won't help you. Inverted English, sorry, inverted Hebrew is the English, the loosing of
Yes.
the angel. So, so yes, this is there are only I think three or four photos. Yeah, but this has been shared around a lot. There are other pictures of him also being in the Prussian War. I think they took the narrative from the Prussian War uh, and then took it maybe from World War One and then continued with that narrative. That now the whole Africa Corps thing doesn't make any logical sense either. Why attack Africa before you attack Germany if you're trying to conquer the German Reich? Well, because the German Reich was in Africa. It was larger in Africa because the Moors conquered Africa much earlier than they conquered Europe. So this is an empire that we are told what ended in 1498, but actually was continuing in Germany, in the Netherlands. They all still have the Moorish kings, the Moorish sculptures, the Moorish fountains. Yeah. And then we have the added history too. So this is the Moorish Adolf Hitler. Then we also have Charlie Chaplin, which is a completely different Adolf Hitler. That's like the one that you see now in the supposedly historic footage.
So when did you say that change took place, Charles?
Okay, so I think that World War One was about removing this Moorish Empire from Germany and from America. Now, the war against America started exactly the same year that the European or the European continent was freed of the Moors. So the Moors all went straight to America, and the conquest of America is World War One. Yeah. So that
Right.
started around like the late 15th century, and it can just continued. France was involved. We discussed this before that France invaded, Germany invaded, Britain invaded, um, the Dutch invaded, the Holy Roman Empire at the time. Yeah.
So the
So
person
the
we're looking at here is the Adolf Hitler that went to Argentina.
no, okay, this Adolf Hitler um, would not have gone to Argentina. This Adolf Hitler is the real Adolf Hitler. This is the Moorish
Right.
Empire that wasn't destroyed until maybe the like 1914. I think 1914 was the end of the
Right.
German
Okay.
Moorish Reich. But you still
So
have the cities and you still have the castles. Everything's still there. Yeah.
so he was then replaced by Charlie Chaplin.
There would have been multiple Adolfo Hitlers. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So do we
So
know? But one of
here we
them we
have
are
Heinrich
saying,
Himmler, and here we have the true swastika. Can you see that?
yes, I can.
The real swastika. I have no other photos of this, and it's never been put on online. This is the only photo I have two or three photos like this from different angles. It's my opinion that I'm always looking for the Moor, the first generation of
Hmm.
the swarthy Black Kings. Those are also the original Rothschilds, the original Coburgs, the original Habsburgs, the original Saxe-Gotha. Yeah, that's all. That has never changed that opinion that I've had about that. So here we have them in the original people, and then everything else, Goebbels, the whole apparatus were the puppets. And I'm not saying that these people are simply have vanished. I think these people are still there, but they are never going to show their faces again because they are now controlling the people that are in front, the people that are governing, the people that are ruling. Those are the people that they put in front. So if you assassinate a leader or a leader gets ill or anything like that, that's never the actual person that's in charge. It's
Sure.
always been these 13 black noble families. Always,
Right.
yeah. Because they consider themselves to be the real humans. They don't consider the pale-skinned person to have any kind of rights to anything. We are the creatures from the ocean. We are the ones that are lost at sea. Can you see what I mean?
Yes, yes,
So you can see the word more in absolutely everything. More translates into teacher in Hebrew. I mean, we've discussed this, like Morrisons, sons of the Moor, Mauritania, yeah, Almor, yeah. It's always going to be like the symbolism is always going to be there, and we're going back to Egyptian, high like in Egyptian pyramid structure. I mean, you can get pretty high, but you're never going to get to the top. But back back in the early 20th century, they were still showing their faces. And
yeah,
then all you need to do is just create another narrative. Train someone somewhere, put them in your place, and then because that's the game. The game is never find out who they are anymore. Have to. I mean, you have to have intuition and work it out yourself. But yeah. I mean, you're not allowed to talk about Adolf Hitler, but you can talk about like Stalin. You can talk about Lenin. You could talk about people that are responsible for a far larger amount of death
yeah.
and murder.
Chairman Mao, and yeah,
You can talk
you
about Chairman Mao,
yeah, and you're right because I'm
but you can't
restricted.
talk about the black nobility. They don't like it because Hitler is far too close. They made a mistake when they chose the same name, when they chose the same symbolism, because it's the first time I think that they did it. And suddenly you realize that they had technology that they shouldn't have had, more science technology that they shouldn't have had. And I don't think they controlled it very well. I think it was a badly managed world war. And it doesn't even make sense anyway. If you look at the First World War and you look at the Second World War, there's not enough time for Germany to be repopulated. And then you have people that go completely rogue, like Kanye West. He went
Mhm.
completely rogue and starts telling everyone black Nazis, makes all these songs, right? About like Heil Hitler, all of this stuff he starts making. So you've got Hitler's Haplab group, which is E1B1B. I don't know why Kanye West was able to find all of that. I guess he was just he suddenly found the connection between the Jews and the black nobility, and I think he just went, crazy. I think he was out of control. Yeah, so these are North Africans. Yeah, so these are
Yeah,
Egyptians, right? Because North Africa is supposedly Egyptian. So where
yeah,
do they come from? America. That's their promised land. So everything's connected. Everything's always connected. So yeah, there's all kinds of things. I think Kanye West's music during that time when he melted down because he couldn't see his daughter, and if you take a father's daughter away, they kind of get a little bit insane, I think.
yes,
And because the Kardashians basically, have like a team of lawyers and they have no end of funding, right? So he was just becoming very like he just didn't care. I think that's what happens when you get brainwashed or you go into these MK Ultra things, which was some of the first things that was set up in America was MK Ultra to try to manipulate people, control people. And I think that's what happens. You just get completely you just become like your mental maybe intuition becomes really good. You start to find out the truth. Maybe your mind is open, so your ancestors maybe talk to you. Then yeah, you. I mean, the Moors coming up in Hitler is insane. It's just I still can't really believe it. Yeah, so this is a really a bad resolution. I'll try to get a better one. But swarthy means black, and it says Adolf Hitler himself, the Al Capone rocketeer of Germany, dark skin, black eyes, swarthy. They did pick somebody that also was swarthy, but they did a lot of makeup here on various actors that they used. So you have yeah. So we've always been told that the Aryan race is blonde-haired, blue-eyed, that they are superior race, that they believe that they were these light-skinned people, but actually it's the complete opposite. They are actually the Black Hebrews, the Ashkenazis. Uh, and during like the I think 1930s, he obviously had regular blood tests. These were published in Germany to because this is your leader, right? There's a lot of things that are he would have private doctors, and yeah. So these are Ethiopian people. These are the chosen lineage. That's what they were claiming to be. This is the only
It's
other
in,
picture I have of Hitler, the actual Hitler. That's the real Hitler. That's the one that we were given later on. Charlie Chaplin in
so as you
makeup.
said, the
Prosthetics
descendants.
obviously were already a thing. I mean, we're talking about post Metropolis, Fritz Lang era, right? They had prosthetics.
Yes,
They had all kinds of
yes,
special effects. They had those special crystal lenses that were these cubed crystal lenses that only the Moors could produce. And they used that to film all kinds of things. If you look at these crystal cubed lenses that can give you a perfect green screen effect. It's not called green screen, by the way. It's a different kind of screen. But if you look at Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or one of those old films like Mary Poppins, if you look at Mary Poppins, they were using these Moorish cubed lenses. And if you watch the green screen effect on Mary Poppins, it's perfect. She has netting on her hat that you can see the animation behind. You can't do that even today anymore because they had a far superior this Moorish technology back then. And I think that's why they can't fake the moon landings again either because of that cubed lens. Because the same cubed lens was also used in those moon dust footage that you get, where you get this moon dust coming up and you have this screen behind. You can't do that today. They have lost that technology. That by the way, Walt Disney was involved in making that. Can you believe that? Walt Disney was involved in making Moorish crystal lenses that we cannot duplicate today. And that's why they were able to do this amazing footage on the moon with the dust coming up. That's why Mary Poppins has that amazing animation that shouldn't exist back then.
yeah.
Fritz Lang was using it in Metropolis, these electric effects that look like some really sophisticated CGI, you know?
That's a fascinating film, Metropolis. I think
It's
everybody
cra
should
it's
watch that.
crazy. More
Yeah,
science does not just limit itself to like architecture or flying craft. It was also in the movies, the whole movie industry, the whole Hollywood industry. But again, these are just theories for entertainment purposes. But yeah, so you still have these in Thuringia, which is named after the cities in the Arctic that the Aryan people supposedly come from. And yeah, so I mean, people who wrote this caption didn't understand that Hitler knew exactly who he was replacing or
yeah,
what he was doing.
yeah.
But it's difficult to know who you're talking about because there's so many actors played Hitler, like so many people throughout time. Yeah, this is like the fact that he praised Jesse Owens during the Olympics, which if you look at modern day movies today, they're gonna say, "Oh, the Nazis hate black people," right? But when you actually look at how Hitler behaved towards Jesse Owens, the American Olympian,
Yes,
and he praised him, then you start to realize that that was just not what was going on in Germany at the time. Of course, that's something, but that's not enough because I mean, what we have to prove is that there was a Hitler that was taught to become a very specific type of person to help Bernard Baruch and the Warburg bankers make millions supplying the war because they wanted another war. They want these wars to constantly happen. So I found this was something that I found recently that in Vienna this was right at the start of World War One. Hitler was living in the same town, in the same, and going to the same cafe in Vienna as Franz Josef Stalin, Trotsky, the guy who did the Bolshevik Revolution
yeah,
for the. I think the British funded him, and maybe the Americans. I know. I think the Germans funded him because the Germans had enough of Tsar Nicholas because Tsar Nicholas realized what was going on, what they were doing with funneling money out of out of Russia
yeah,
to other countries. Yeah, and that's around about the time when America also set up its own like banking system because they didn't really care about ruling because the United States was hard to rule. but if they control the money, the finances, it would be worth it. So Freud also went to the same cafe in Vienna.
That is just ridiculous, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
the that in itself is just as mind blowing as everything else that you've showed me so far.
Yeah, yes. I mean, yes, some are pretty much conspiracy theories, but yes, something like this where you have like
Mm,
documented periods of time where people were in the same place. I mean, I can you imagine Trotsky meeting Hitler? Like, can you imagine like a
yeah,
Russian revolutionary talking to, Hitler who's been trained to take over and become a socialist? So I mean, yeah, the connection there is crazy. I mean, even Stalin,
mm,
Stalin, you know,
mm,
was the replacement, I guess, for the Tsar, for the
yeah,
Kaisers and the
yeah,
Tsars.
yeah,
Yeah. So th this is the mastermind thing. Yeah. So I mean, uh, there are a few different people. Walt Disney also played Hitler for a while. Then you have the connection with the different ears that Hitler has on different footage, different kinds of
yeah.
photos. Because you can't really fake the ears. The ears are usually the telltale sign. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, some of the acting does change. Like Hitler did an audition to play the role of the German chancellor. He did audition for it as an actor would, and there's a photo shoot of him doing all of these things. But when he starts doing these hands coming up like this, that's when he's being played by Father Cochlin. That's the theory. Then
Right,
there was a period of time where he was doing these crazy flamboyant over his head kind of gestures, and that's when he's actually be played by Walt Disney, which is a more flamboyant version. And then when you have those big parades and he looks short all of a sudden, that's Charlie Chaplin.
right.
Yeah. But they were not good at this is probably one of the first times like the Moors replaced the king with a pale-skinned looking, yeah, traditional European. But it's all fake. That's the main thing. That's really what I want
Yeah,
to tell you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, yeah. So
So
you've got his
so
parent,
so his
well,
grandmother was
allegedly his
impregnated
parents.
by the Rothschilds. Yeah. So that's
Yes,
how he knows who he is, and he wasn't shutting down Rothschild's bank. He was just making sure their money was safe. Yeah.
crikey.
Yeah.
Now,
It's insane.
one thing I was going to ask you, you, and this is something that I've written about and I've spoken about, the connection to Adolf Hitler and Barack Obama. Now, have you come across that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah.
That
They're
essentially
related.
it's his grandson.
Yeah, grandson. And also, yeah, if you want to know what Hitler actually looked like, then yeah, Barack Obama was his grandson, and then his daughter was Chancellor Merkel,
Yes,
because they want to obviously they were promised that they would be allowed to continue to rule after they did all of this for the war. There were Warburgs in London and Warburgs in Berlin, the Warburg bankers. Yeah. But the idea of having a war over and over again is this incredible money-making opportunity when the whole country is just funneling money to the supplier, which was Bernard Baruch. He made
right.
millions during World War One. He was giving more Europe this ammunition, food. He was supplying the French with ammunition, weapons, and everything. Yeah, he was the yeah the this working with Henry Morgenthau, a Jewish a treasurer, and he created basically the whole Hitler, who Hitler was, obviously with the permission of the Moorish black lineage, the whole time. Now, Winston Churchill was in debt. That's how they got him to do what they wanted. He was in a lot of debt, as a lot of royals seem to be. Anyway, so he was so broke that he was about to become bankrupt, and they said, "Okay, we will get you to lead. We will put you in place. We'll fund your campaign. You will become prime minister. Everything's going to be fine. And here's another gentleman, Hitler, Adolf Hitler, from the Hebrew Adolfo Hitler, and we will bring Britain to war with Germany. And then FDR said no. FDR, in a recorded conversation, he said, "Are you joking? Not Churchill. He is a drunk. I knew him in Versailles, and there's no way this guy can do what." And they said, "Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine." And then, yeah, so these a gentleman, League of Gentlemen, which is also a movie,
Yes.
bailed Churchill out of bankruptcy immediately. The bankers obviously have like they can print money, right? So they told him that he would be in Germany discussing this while he then went back to the UK, organized his propaganda campaign, and they basically told him do everything that we tell you. And there's an interview of a guy who wrote a book about it. He says that everything will be fine. But we do have to work on your drinking. You have to be more eloquent with your speaking. And I think he was like a smoker as well, so it's crazy. Like he had a lot of like health issues, but it destroyed Britain, completely destroyed Britain. I mean, Britain and Germany were destroyed in that war, and the money. I don't know. I don't know where these bankers keep their money. Maybe in Switzerland. So you've got this crazy planned out scripted event, and they were committed to it. And they were channeling all the money in because they knew they'd get it back. Now, I don't believe that the figures are correct, though, because I've done some research on the numbers, and the numbers is always a fascinating thing when you look at the population of a country. And I was looking at was there enough time for Germany to repopulate between World War One and World War Two. And this is the biggest mistake these greedy bankers made because they said that they forgot about all of the immigrants that were going from Germany, all these young women that were leaving Germany, moving to America, because Germany was destroyed, like economically, it was just
Yes.
done for. The next 3 decades were complete misery. I mean,
Mm.
it wasn't a place where anyone would have a future, and the percentage of women that ended up there was insane. So I did this using AI, and I tried to look at the propaganda, which was this black Tartarian dragon in the shape of a swastika. And then they also did that exact same thing for the First World War. So they weren't that creative. But World War One ended in 1918, and World War Two started in 1939. So how the hell do you get people growing up of fighting age when basically there's no economy, there's no young men coming back? The population of Germany when it comes to young fighting men was it was obliterated. There was hardly anyone coming back, able-bodied, healthy men. Yeah.
And the other thing is, of course, they have to be uniformed, they have to be fed, and they have to be armed
Exactly. No,
and
but you need to find a
trained.
woman. You need to find a young
Yeah.
woman that doesn't want to end up going to live in like a lot of women ended up going to Britain. A lot of young German women
The,
left with
the,
soldiers, with Allied soldiers. There's
a
all kinds
lot,
of stories about that, at that time.
it's just the numbers of the military personnel that you've got there, and I've spoken
Yeah.
about this with people before. The numbers don't stack up, like you quite
It's
rightly said,
impossible. It's
because
impossible.
you
The
know,
First World War was fake history.
yeah, I totally agree with you, Charles. I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't that give you goosebumps, man? When I worked that
Mhm.
out, that was crazy,
Mhm.
man. Oh, never forget that, man. I
But
mean,
so
the Soviet Union, do you know how many people died? What the
yeah,
hell?
30, yeah, and we're looking at
And they
30.
didn't have guns. They didn't have guns ready. There was
Mm.
literally one guy at the front of the line shooting, and as soon as he died, they picked up his gun, and the other people would stay behind, and then he'd shoot until he got shot. Then he'd pick up the gun. I mean, this cannot happen again, and we have to make sure by educating people that this kind of
Mm.
money-making sadistic greed cannot ever be happen again.
So do you have a theory on what was happening in the camps?
Yes.
Would you? Is this perhaps something that we could
Let's do a part
do?
two
Yeah,
because
do a
if I
part two
start talking
for
about the
me.
cams, we're going to be here for another 2 hours.
Yeah, so I
Because the
just want.
cams are actually the most horrific part. I mean, when it comes to what I consider personally to be misinformation, um,
Yeah, I think a lot of us have got
on a scale
different
so
views.
like if there is an empire in the history of the human race that knows how to build gas chambers, it is the German Empire. And when you look at them, the way they were built, you know, you start to you get very suspicious. So, but what I'm worried about is who wrote that part of it, because that
Yes,
part of it doesn't really benefit the bankers directly. So that who wrote that part, you know?
yeah. Well, let's do a part two on that, if that's all
Yeah,
right with you. Well,
yeah,
thank you,
yeah.
Charles. Thank you for sharing this with
Thank
us.
you. Yeah, thank you for
Um,
having me on your channel. Yeah.
oh, and do you know what? The connection between him and Barack Obama now
Yeah.
sounds more believable than the story about his daughter getting pregnant by a Kenyan national who was